This is the second of two ACC Big Ten Challenge games that we're analysing. We've already done Ohio State versus North Carolina. Now we're doing Purdue versus Virginia. Now everything you see in this video, from the code window that created this timeline to the output window you see on screen now, will be available to purchase if you look in the description below, as well as more comprehensive walkthroughs of how these windows work. So into the game at hand. Now this game, not to oversimplify it or reduce it down to something so basic, really came down to 3-point shooting. If we look at these 3-point stats here, they both took the same amount of threes, Purdue and Virginia. Purdue made 13 of them, Virginia made 4, so 52% to 16% was a huge difference that really led to the wide margin of victory of 29 points. Now, obviously, Purdue had a really good defense in this game. They had forced 16 Virginia turnovers, whereas they only had 7 themselves. And we'll see soon when we click onto the shooting charts that we'll see that Virginia shot really poorly from those 3-point zones. In terms of Purdue's individual players' performance, we had 4 players over 10 points. So we had 20 from Stevanovic, 11 from Harms, we had 16 from Proctor, and 10 from Hunter Jr. Stevanovic had the best game he's had in his Purdue college career. He went 6 for 10 from 3-point shots, 60%, and that's obviously kind of hard to beat when someone's shooting 60% from 3. Now we go into the advanced stats. Purdue's starting 5 was incredibly deep and incredibly effective in this game. Their starting 5 of Hunter, Proctor, Harms, Williams, and Stevanovic all had over 20 plus minuses. Their depth off the bench was pretty poor, -2 from Easton. We had +3 from Wheeler and -3 from Thompson, so their bench is pretty weak. But that starting 5, 4 of which got over 10 points, was really, really strong. Now, when we look at the shooting chart over here, we'll see that Purdue shot quite well. Purdue doesn't rely on the 3-point shot as much as Virginia. If we look at the 2 to 3-point ratio down here, Purdue shoots 1 3 for every 2-point shot they shoot, whereas Virginia shoots 1.5 threes for every 2-point shot they shoot. So Virginia relies more on the 3, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. Purdue shot green from a lot of these positions, 9 for 16 from the top of the 3-point shot, 2 for 3 from the left wing, and 1 for 1 from the right corner. And they shot 11 from 21 from catch and shoot opportunities, which are usually 3-point shots, for 52.4%, and then pretty average and normal everywhere else. Whereas if we look at Virginia, a lot of those greens turn into reds. We've got 9.1% from the top of the 3-point arc, 1 for 11, which is clearly not very good, 1 of 5 from the right wing, and 2 for 8 from the right corner. So they were shot really poorly, and they did have quite a few open opportunities. They just couldn't capitalize on them because of Purdue's pretty good defense, as well as good rebounding, and just overall good defensive plan, which we're going to get into shortly. Now, if we look at the quarter breakdown, the big quarter that kind of decided this game was the second quarter. So we'll click on the second quarter and see those stats for Virginia. They scored 8 points, went 3 for 11 from field goals and 1 for 9 from 3-point shots. If we go to Purdue, once it loads, we'll see that they scored 16 points, 2 for 6 from 3-point, which is not great, but 50% from field goals overall. So that first half was really Purdue's striking moment. That's where a lot of the clips that we're about to watch are from. Again, 16 points in that first quarter, whereas Virginia, again, only scored, as it loads, 9 points as well. So even distribution in terms of quarter points for both teams. So we'll now look at the video and see how Purdue stopped Virginia's 3-point game, what their defensive plan was, and how they were so dominant in this game. Now to the video. So we've seen the stats. Now we're going to see how Purdue, what their defensive game plan was in the film. Now, Purdue wanted to do 2 things going to this game. They wanted to play really sound defense in terms of their fundamentals, hands up, down to your stance, rushing really hard, effort. The other thing they wanted to do was really stop Virginia's 3-point game. Now, they did that by essentially hedging hard on side-on balls, which they must have scouted in Virginia's previous games. And that really took Virginia out of their flow, out of their normal actions, out of their patterns and things like that. And Virginia just really struggled, causing massive turnovers and really poor shots. So we'll see how it worked. So this is kind of Purdue's base defense. This is the very first possession of the game. So side on ball, hard hedge. So Harms is going to come out here and really disrupt this ball movement, and that kind of stops Virginia in their place, and they have to kind of readjust. Now Purdue does a really good job of being disciplined, and they've got all their players in the exact right spots. So Stevanovic has rotated around and made sure that he's in the paint under the rim, closing off this ball side half of the court. Same with Williams here. He's on this ball side half of the court, making sure that this whole half of the court is kind of shut down and Purdue's got it on lockdown. So they will rotate back to the other side now. Hard hedge again, this time by Williams, stopping that initial ball movement, slowing down Virginia's offense. And again, now we've got Proctor and Harms rotating under the paint, stopping any sort of rolling action, as well as cutting off any passes to this weak side of the court. And obviously Virginia now is throwing a pass in there, thinking that they've found an opening, even though Proctor here has rotated out to this wing, which he shouldn't have done. He should have just stayed put. Williams here is quite an athletic big, sophomore player for Purdue. Does a really good job, quite an athletic play of retreating back to the rim and intercepting this pass, causing a turnover. Later in this half, again, hard hedge. Again, hard hedge. You'll see again, players are exactly where they're supposed to be, under the paint, under the rim, in the paint, shutting down this half of the court, making sure that nothing gets in here in terms of a roll man. Really well disciplined defense. Again, as we talk about, hands up. Harms is getting feet up as well. Again, that's just a sign of good coaching, disciplined defense, doing the fundamentals really well. Again, another side on ball, hard hedge by Harms again. Really puts them in really stops the Virginia offense. They get a shot off and a foul there by Harms just on the rebound. But again, closing down, arms up in his face, shutting down that Virginia three-point shot, causing a miss. Now, essentially when Purdue's white players are off, Harms and Stevanovic, Purdue becomes very switchable. So they've still got a big on the floor in terms of Williams, and he won't switch. But in terms of all the other players, Purdue's got great versatility. So between Wheeler, Hunter Jr., Proctor, and who's the other one? Proctor, Hunter Jr., Williams as well, and Nojal Easton, number 20. They're all very switchable through 1 to 4. So instead of hard hedging, they'll still do a soft hedge, but then they can just switch basically through 1 through 4. So we'll see that here. This initial side on ball, when the starting 5 is on, they might hard hedge this and rotate on the back end. But when they've got this particular lineup on, now they don't have to worry about that. They can just switch it. So now they just switch. Wheeler takes over that player. They'll hard hedge that just because it's got Williams involved and he's their primary big in this lineup. But again, when they do the same thing here, they just switch back. And of course, Virginia gets stuck in this corner and Purdue turns it over. Back to the starting lineup. Again, this lineup played most of the game and they had really strong plus minuses throughout. Hard hedge. Again, just watching off the ball as well. Everyone's exactly where they need to be. Hedge gets them out of their offense, causing this really poor shot, and Virginia airballs it. So, last clip regarding this hard hedge, or this Purdue's base defense. Again, this time, this is quite early in the game as well, but Virginia's obviously already called on to what Purdue's going to do. This time, Harms kind of soft hedges. He doesn't go all the way just because the screen hasn't been committed yet. Virginia thinks they've got Purdue, but another turnover. So Purdue played really well, rotating in the back end, hard hedging those side pick and rolls. When they have particular lineups, they're incredibly switchable. So Purdue's a really well coached, really well disciplined team. Speaking of discipline and detail, I just want to show you 3 things I observed from Purdue's offense that I thought were really good and showed really good coaching and a really smart defense. So I've just got my 3 details here. Now, on this position, it starts off with that Purdue hedge. So again, this time Williams shutting down that initial Virginia action. And then they come and get this ball over here. Now, they're about to set up another screen, but you'll notice here what Hunter Jr. does really well is he moves his body so he shuts off this open side of the court. Just goes like that, And now this Virginia player's only got two options. He can either go up the court, completely resetting the offense and also allowing the defense to reset, or he can go into this corner and get trapped. So that's just one simple action here by this Purdue player, and he's kind of shut off this entire offensive possession. Now the Virginia player decides to go in towards the corner, gets stuck, and gets a turnover caused. The thing I want to show you on this particular position is the Purdue's player ability to essentially miss or dodge screens. You know, they don't ever get stuck, and they're always in the Virginia player's face. So the first one we want to watch is here, number 11 here. Just boom, it's immediately in his face. Second one coming around this exact same area. And this final one here by Stevanovic on this other side, this weak side. They're always there. So Stevanovic, even when the player receives the ball, is immediately there despite being screened off the ball. That's the sort of stuff that, you know, causes a suffocating defense. Virginia can't get anything going, no open shots, and it causes turnovers and poor shots. And this shot, I believe this turns into it. This also results in a Virginia turnover, this one on a travel. The final thing I want to show you is essentially just like, again, this is just base fundamentals, and, you know, this one here, watch how Williams here, who's under the paint initially, watch how he closes out on this player, the player that he's supposed to be guarding once he receives the ball. High hands and immediately in his stance. So this Virginia player has to move the ball immediately. Like boom, incredibly well defended. And watch how he hedges the screen, again shuffling his feet. Like, you can't really get past it if you're the Virginia player. You can't really pass, you can't really move. It's completely shut off this offensive action. Now Harms and I don't know who this is. I think this is Hunter Jr. They should both be under the rim here in the paint. You know, shutting off this bullside player. You know, as we saw in those initial clips. However, they've not done that, and that causes, you know, this easy pass and leads to a foul. So, but we're focusing on Williams, just that initial closeout. Really good fundamentals, hands up in a stance, and then just the shuffling on this hedge, again shutting off that Virginia action. But these Purdue players should be in the paint here, and this causes a Virginia foul. Now on offense, Purdue did a lot of different things. They had a lot of post-up opportunities that they scored from with Harms and Williams. They, you know, did really well in transition. But the first thing we're going to look at is the screener actions that they did in the very first half. So, for example, we've got Hunter coming up the floor here. Gets it back. Now you'll notice Stefanovic here is going to set a screen for Harms. Now this is quite a good idea because Harms is the dominant big man at Purdue. He's at least the most notorious or most well-known one. So he's setting a screen for them. So a lot of the Virginia defense is going to slide to Harms, which it does. Two players occupy that player. Now, Williams here is going to set a screen for Stevanovic for an open three-point shot, and he just nails the three-point shot. Now, Stevanovic plays a lot like Dakota Mathias did, you know, who played at Purdue a couple of years ago. They just kind of essentially run actions specifically for him to get open to shoot threes. So he screens here for Harms, then Williams screens for Stevanovic, open three-point shot. Later in the first half, Hunter coming up the floor again with the ball, gives it to Harms. Something very similar. This time it's a different action looking for a different outcome. Stefanovic here is getting screened for by Proctor. Now Proctor then rotates around a double screen here by Hunter and Harms. Gets the ball on the right elbow, launches a jumper and nails it. So two different screen air actions with two different outcomes, but both outcomes were successful. Again, we're just replaying that last one. Stefanovic here is getting the ball from a screen with Proctor. Proctor rotates around a double screen along the baseline and gets the ball from Stefanovic to score. Now, the second offensive action that Purdue ran quite successfully was their transition. So, again, Nojal Weston gets the ball here and just runs up. Now, Purdue, again, is a really well-disciplined team, so they're all doing their roles that they're supposed to. We've got Stefanovic, who's a three-point shooter. He's staying at the three-point line. We've got Bordeaux, who's the designated big on the floor, at least one of them. I think he's playing the four in this particular lineup. He goes towards the rim. Then we've got another three-point shooter over here. But Nojal Easton does a really good job of occupying several defenders. He gets, what, 3 defenders here? 5, or you say he gets all 5 defenders. At least all 5 defenders are looking at him. Passes the ball back out. Easy shot there. I believe that's Wheeler who scores that one, who's the freshman big at Ohio State. Not Ohio State, Purdue. Same thing here. Gets the ball off a rebound. Hunter occupying 5 defenders. And again, a lot of Purdue's players are doing their role that they're designated to do, and they do it very well. So Williams here, the designated big on the floor, is going to rush towards under the rim, occupying defenders there. Stefanovic is going to fade to the 3-point line, as well as Proctor. And again, Hunter does a really good job of occupying multiple Virginia defenders. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 players there, leaving multiple shooting options along the perimeter. Proctor gets the ball this time and again nails the 3. So Purdue was very successful in that first and second quarter, first half. They scored 16 points in each quarter, 32 overall, and that kind of really blew out the lead that Virginia was not able to recover from. So we've got hard hedging on defense as well as particular switching lineups. We've got really well disciplined and detailed defensive traits like arms up and getting through screens really well. And then we've got the screener actions on offense as well as transition buckets. So that's all the film that we've got. And I hope you really enjoyed this video, learned something. And again, if you have any questions, my email's in the description as well as all my social links. Thank you very much.